Hello, everyone. The ride that reiterated how life happens. At the time, I was picking up a passenger in Fort Worth. I make my way to the QT gas station. She hops into my back seat. I proceed to take her to work. So I asked her, how is your day going? And she responded with, it was going fine until my car went out on me. And of course, I responded with, oh, wow, sorry to hear that. I know that can be an inconvenience. And as I continue to drive, she tells me how it just recently happened. Plus, she stated that she was glad that I came to pick her up. And, I was kind of taken aback by that because I was like, why would, prior drivers wouldn't want to come pick her up? So I asked her, she basically said, there were 2 to 3 drivers that were en route to scoop her, but when they got close to her, they canceled. Nonetheless, I continued to take her to work, and right before I dropped her off, I was going to ask her, if she wanted to have my services again because she stated how, she enjoyed my driving. But right before I was about to ask, she mentioned how, she had a colleague that was going to be taking her back to the QT gas station. So I tell her to have a good day, and she gets out the vehicle. I continue on with my journey of being of service to people. Along the way, I was pondering about how that was once me. I once had car trouble, and my car was down for a while. And at the time, I could have taken ride share, but I really didn't want to take ride share. So instead, what I did was I used my 2 feet and I walked to the train. And then on the way back, I took the bus just because it was where I was residing. It was just easier for me to do that. I was without my car for about a month and a half, and around this period, it was winter time. It was brick cold. Well, brick cold to me. And so once I got back into my car, I was highly appreciative and highly grateful. Nonetheless, just thinking about that passenger's situation, how life can happen at any time, and we're in a good place when life happens now. Me, you that's listening, because there was one point in time where there was no Uber, there was no Lyft. I mean, we still have taxis, but the thing is, back in the day, for those that remember, the taxi will come get you, but it used to be expensive. Granted, everything is expensive now because that's just the cost of doing business. And it's just such a luxury to have the solution to be able to call someone to come and pick you up. And it doesn't have to be family members. And I'm sure there's those out there that can relate. You have some family members that'll help you, but other family members, they won't help you. And then if they do help you, they'll try to hold it against you and weigh it over your head like, you committed a crime, as if life cannot happen to them. You know, I understand, as you all know, that is how some people operate, no matter if you're family or not. But that ride reiterated how life happens because that's something that happens on a daily basis. Now, just imagine if that was to happen to someone today, because it will, unfortunately, and there was no ride share after call, and there was no family member that one can call. And let's say the people are married, but the other partner is at work and they only have one car and they can't leave work. Or let's say the person is dating someone, but their significant other is unavailable. Or let's say the person is single and they got friends and associates, but they're busy and tied up and dealing with their life. And then they would have to call the taxi. The taxi today with inflation, depending on how far you got to go, I wouldn't even want to see that bill. But the thing is, since it would be a necessity, you would have to see that bill, and you would have to continue to be uh, disciplined to get up out of the situation. That's another thing that it reiterated. I had a ride where I picked up the passenger. Um, it was past Fort Worth. I can't remember the name of the city, just being totally honest. But when I picked up the man and we got on to our destination, which was which was a place he needed to go that could, help him make some quick money. So I will admit, as I was driving, I was like, wow, this cool, what he's doing to help people out. And in return, the byproduct was him getting a few dollars. He expressed to me how his vehicle is no longer working. His engine blew out, and he told me it was about 3,000 to get his engine replaced. And I was just like, that's crazy. And I told him that, like, man, it'll get better. Like he's not gonna be without his car forever. And I'm sure that's not what he wanted to hear, but it's the truth. Um, but he was already showing that he was focused on getting out of that situation because he was going to make some quick cash into it, doing it the legal way, being a law-abiding citizen. Um, and from what he was sharing with me, um, he was looking for another job. He said he was being consistent. Everything it takes to get your car back on the road or get your car fixed, right? Again, I'm sure you all can relate. Now, these situations also reiterated why one has to have the belief in self, believe that they can deal with any situation and they stay calm. Because both passengers, to their credit, they didn't really have attitudes. They just was conversing with me about it like, hey, this is just part of the process, which I agree because one can prepare for most things, but they cannot prepare for all things. At least that's how it seems. And the reason why I say that is because one could be prepared for most things or even all things. But then again, sometimes life just happens out the blue. As they say, we have a plan when we pray to God and God laughs, which I think is quite interesting to say the least. But the wonderful thing about that is can't see everything that's coming, but we can have a solution to everything that's coming. Because that's basically what the rise reiterated to me. Like there are always going to be problems, and in turn, there will always be solutions. So if you already have the solution, do you really have a problem? Maybe the problem is just an inconvenience, or it's just a little setback, or it's a something that gives you pause and to help you just refocus. But I understand that some people do not operate like that. But again, this is a mindset issue. And that's the final thing that the ride reiterated to me how life happens. is that you have to have the proper mindset. Because if you don't have the proper mindset, you can easily break down. And when you break down, you have to pick yourself back up. You know, some people break down and they're lost at sea forever because, I don't know, depression, they get lost in their vices. But all of those things are a choice, not to be dismissive, but they're all a choice. So I just wanted to bring you all this video today. Thanks for listening. Hope you all continue to have a great day. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.